going to take you through just a little bit of our day-by-day shot locations for the trip. Now, the way that I do my tour planning like this, normally I go to a location and I meticulously scout everything. So I know if I stand on this hill at this time of day, the sun's going to be there, and then it's just my luck as to whether, what the weather's doing. In this case, I have driven through this area, but I've not been there personally. So I've put together my shot list based on recommendations from friends who run photo tours there, my own recollection of having driven through the area, and then of course our tour partner, Experience Plus, this is their home. This is where the girls who founded the company, their parents founded the company. They purchased it from their parents. This is part of where they grew up. They know the area super well. And I also went to their office and sat down with Michele, who is their local employee, really, for the company, who puts together their routes. So I went over with him, all of the ride profiles as well as the shot locations. And on some of them, he said, no, we can't ride there. There's a bridge out. We're going to have to ride this other route instead. Sweet, which is something you can't know without having visited in person. So that's why it's important for me to go visit these or know somebody who knows the ins and outs of every last thing we're going to do during the trip. And then I'll go through and find either public images or a lot of times images from friends that I'll grab and use these as go-bys. And it's important for the guides to know if they're going to drive us to a photography location, exactly where do we want to be, what does it look like, and also helps to know kind of the time of day that I want to be in a location. So anyway, I could go on and on about that, but let's just flip through these real quick. If you're interested in watching a little bit longer, this is the part that really gets me going, gets me excited. So the daily ride profiles, go look at those for yourself. Of course, that would be during the daytime hours between basically 8 a.m. and 2 to 3 in the afternoon. After 2 to 3 in the afternoon, we'll say, okay, everybody meet at the lobby of our hotel or at the corner on the street, and we'll go from there and do our photography from there. So our photography is reserved mostly for the evenings. Occasionally, we'll have a photo stop midday. All right, this is Vita Chapel that you can see from the main road. We'll ride right past this. You're not probably going to have your photography gear on you, but that's the classic view. Not a great photo there because it's a little larger than it can display. This is right up in front of Vita Chapel. We'll get to walk right up to it, walk around it, and looking at the other direction from the chapel, this is looking up towards Pienza, and it should have nice green fields. This one's probably in the fall. This one's probably in the spring. Don't know the exact time frames of those, but just for reference. This is Pienza looking from the other side, so we'll ride past it, come around the city, and we'll be looking at it from this side on day 2 of our trip. Montechiello Road, this is one of those nice curvy places where we probably won't stop for actually making photos of this road. You can if you want to. We'll be there with your photo gear. This is more for taking photos of each other on our bikes. So I'll be posted up there taking photos of each person riding this road. So you don't want to go on a bike trip with other photographers and not come home with awesome photos of you on your bike, right? So that's what this location is for. Terrapil, I think. This is one of those locations just below Pienza. We'll do on day 2 of the trip. A different elevation of the same place. Important to note when you're doing your photography research, location research for going on these sort of trips, try and figure out exactly what the elevation is going to be. Google Earth and Google Maps are great ways to do that. When I first saw this, I thought, no, this looks like a drone photo. I don't think I could get this exact elevation if I were standing on the ground. After spending a little time on Google Earth, it turns out I can get this location, and I found the exact GPS location that we can be at to get that shot. Poggio awesome shot with the cypress lined roads. I'm looking forward to probably making an image like this myself. Hopefully there will be some wind. I can get some nice movement in the sky with a long exposure. Not a great image, but this one is Bagno Vignoni, spa town that we'll visit. This one is back at Villetta Chapel. This one might be a drone shot. I'm not sure. I'm going to research this when I'm there. It's basically a 10-minute walk from our hotel to get to this vantage. So we'll have plenty of opportunities to photograph that. The next day, Padir Belvedere. This is one of those iconic photography locations in Tuscany in Val d'Orcia, and this is right outside of our hotel. You can probably see this from the balcony of our hotel, actually. Back to Poggio Cavili. The next morning, if you really want to go down there for sunrise, this would be about a 15-minute bike ride from the hotel. I'm not sure if we're going to shuttle there or not. We'll kind of see what the weather's doing. Bagno Vignoni again for that next day. Belvedere, just a different vantage on that. Circle of Cyprus, I have mixed feelings on if we're going to do that. This is just another view of the Orcia Valley on the ride down to Poggio Cavili, going south from our hotel. Circle of Cyprus. We'll go there on day 3 of the trip, and it just kind of depends on what time of day we're there and what the weather's doing as to whether or not it's going to be a cool photo. If you're a good photographer, you've been practicing for a while, part of the joy of doing this photography research and location research before you go on a trip is usually seeing a photo and you go, you know what, I think I can make a better image than that, and just getting ideas in your head before you visit, which is partly why I do this as well. San Carico, this is one of the public gardens. One of the public gardens in San Carico. It's going to be a great little town just for walking around, and we'll be spending 3 days there, so plenty of time to get your village shots, your garden shots, just a lot of photos that you can get at pretty much any town in the Orcia Valley. And this is part of why I cut out some of the other stops along the way as well, because really when we sat down and talked about it with the owners of Experience Plus and Michele, I showed him a whole long list of photos, and I said, can we find something like this? And it all came down to, all of the villages are going to look pretty much the same, with the exception of the big ones, like going to Siena. You can end in Florence, go to Pisa. So some of the big cities, you're going to have some specifically unique architecture, but all these other cities that we're visiting throughout the tour, the architecture, the street markets, the gardens, everything's going to look pretty much the same. The differentiators between these places is usually what kind of food they serve and what kind of wine do they have. So we'll have a couple of winery tours in there as well. Different option in San Carico. This one I think would be cool as a night photo with the lights on in the church. Sant'Antimo Abbey. This will be day 4. Walk around there, probably kind of late afternoon, so we'll get some of the golden sunlight in the valley there. This is Montalcino on day 4. This will be our overnight. So after San Carico, where we stay for 3 days, we'll move to Montalcino the next day. The valley, looking from the walls of Montalcino. One of those spots that will definitely be at sunset. The next day, day 5, this is Oliveto Maggiore. We'll probably just photograph this from the outside as we ride past it. If you really want to go inside, it is kind of pretty, but I've been told you don't get a lot of freedom in here. It's like a guided tour where they kind of walk you through, and you don't really have time to stop and photograph everything like you want to. So as a photographer, I've done those kind of trips before, and it never turns out well because, I just don't get the photos I want when I'm on a guided tour with people. So we're not going to stop there for that. Bacaleno. This is, again, a classic location. We will be there kind of late afternoon, but probably not evening for sunset. I didn't feel like it was important to hit this for sunset because we're going to move on from there to Siena for sunset. And we'll be at several places where we'll have these kind of rooftop views over Siena. This is the one specifically that I asked Michele, can we get on this balcony for this exact photo? And we'll be there at this time of day as well. So unless there's harsh clouds that are covering everything, we'll have this view with just this very light as well. Okay, more in the streets of Siena. Next day, Casa Broglio. This is where they make Brunello wine, I believe it is. So we'll have a winery tour here. Walk the grounds. Take all of your photo gear, not with you, but we'll have it there in the vehicle for you when you get there. And again, I'm just grabbing a bunch of different viewpoints to give myself ideas so I know what the layout of it is when I get there. And then from here, like I said, we're going to do a winery tour, and then we'll have the option to either ride back, or if you feel like I had too much wine on the winery tour, we'll take the shuttle back to Siena that day. And then that evening, this is where we'll have our dinner for a cityscape view. And depending on how long you want to stay out, this would be a perfect place for kind of a late evening cityscape with all of the lights coming up in the city. Then our final day together on the trip, we shuttle up to Cinque Terre Park, and we'll start in Rio Major, basically drop everybody off here, and then we'll spend a little bit of time photographing here. Up to you guys if you want to, up to you. If whoever's on the tour, we can take a boat out and take a short boat trip along the coast there. I didn't add that in as something that we're planning to do because it would tremendously increase the pricing of the trip. So I didn't add that on. We'll have to decide that when we're there. Whoever wants to, we can take a little boat trip out and get some unique photos that we wouldn't be able to get just from walking along the sea cliffs. This is the hiking trail that leads along the Cinque Terre Park, connects all of the fishing villages there. So we'll walk from Rio Major up to Manarola, and I'm sorry, yes, that's correct. We'll walk up to Manarola. This would be our view basically in mid-afternoon, and this would be Manarola in the evening. You can choose to stay here and do some sunset photos at Manarola if you really want to stay here. Otherwise, we'll grab the train, which is included in the price of admission to the park, which we're already including in the tour. Grab the train and we'll go up to Vernazza. And this is Vernazza, pretty much midday. Actually, this is kind of early mid-morning-ish light. So this is Vernazza, where we'll be in the late afternoon. And then at sunset, this is our planned sunset location for the evening. So I wanted to visit Rio Major, Manarola, and Vernazza on day one there with everybody. And we'll be finishing up here right about this time of day where you see the sun setting over the hills there in the background, and then take the train up to Monterosso, which is these lights that you see up here in the background. That's going to be our overnight location. So we won't be able to check into hotels when we first drive up there anyway. So our guides will go ahead, drop off all of our luggage at the hotel. And this is going to be a leisurely day. You can take photos if you want to. You can just stop and have lunch if you want to. At any point, you can jump on the train and head up to Monterosso and just check in there for the evening. So by no means, mandatory hiking and staying all day out with the group. You can structure your day however you want to. We're all adults. Everybody can manage their day however is best for them. I hope that was not too long. I hope you had a chance to look at the whole thing. If you're planning on joining us for the trip, go ahead and inquire about the tour. Let me go ahead and open that link, show you that page. Pretty simple. There's another little video here that goes through some of the most commonly asked questions if you haven't already watched that. And then fill this in, tell me if you're interested so I can follow up with you. If you are ready to join us on the trip, you can go ahead and do the deposit here. And then this is where you would also go back and do the pay your balance when you're actually ready. So right now we have, like I said, it's October 11th. We've got 5 people already booked into the trip and definitely planning to run it. Would love to have you join us. We're only going to take a maximum of 12 guests on this tour. Again, Kevin@intentionallylost.com or tours@intentionallylost.com if you got questions. Do hope you can join us.